Hi, everyone. And as Bobby Zamora once very eloquently put, I'm back. Jack
You should have
Stradley.
tilted the
Oh, I should have done. I should have done.
your laptop and then
Oh, I should
slowly
have done it.
revealed it.
God, if only I could turn back time. Well, a big thank you to Jack Stradley for stepping in and doing a fantastic job over the last couple of weeks. And I did watch the videos while on my holiday, Jack, and you both provided some great entertainment for me. So thank you very much. It's a shame that I missed a cracking game in Nottingham a couple of weeks ago, but we're back and we're ready to preview the Newcastle game on Saturday, which for me personally, and I'm sure for a lot of people that haven't been to the Nottingham Forest game, it feels like the first time going to Fulham in ages. I haven't been since the Tottenham game. I'm sure a lot of people haven't been since Brighton or before. Jack, how are you doing? Good to see you.
Yeah, no, welcome back, Joe. It's great to have the Jack and Joe show back. Jack Stradley did a great job, as you said, and yeah, we're ready to speak about Newcastle.
So I said to you just before we started that this has a very weird vibe to me, this game, and I can't really explain why. I think it's partly because I haven't seen Fulham play in so long. I think it's partly because the expectations for Newcastle this season are very high, and their start maybe hasn't quite lived up to the expectations. I think it's been quite steady. They've drawn some games that they maybe should have won. They've also drawn some games they maybe should have lost. And they sit on 7 played, 1 win, 5 draws, 1 defeat. The defeat was obviously caused by what was it, like 120th minute Fabio Carvalho goal, it felt like. So it could have easily been 1 win and 6 draws. Jack, how are you feeling about this game? We're at home. We're without Palhinha, which I think is has to be where we've got to start the conversation.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm looking forward to it. I think everyone's looking forward to going back to Craven Cottage. Haven't been there since the Brighton game, of course. And look, we're unbeaten at home this season against a team who's only won once this season. On paper, we should be favourites. With a form team, 6th in the table. And obviously, did the international break come at a bad time for us? I don't really factor that in because there's only one international break this season, albeit the World Cup, obviously in November. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I think Newcastle will offer us a sturdy test. They've got some very, very good players, and Eddie Howe, fantastic manager. But yeah, I've got confidence in this Fulham team, and especially with Mitro bagging in the goals for Serbia, he's going to be right on form for us. And yeah, the worry is no João Palhinha. How are we going to adapt without him? And I'm sure that's what we should talk about now, because he is probably the most key player we've had so far this season in that midfield. Without his presence, it's going to be an interesting one to see how we operate in that midfield. Does Harrison Reed take on a more defensive role? Does someone? Let's talk about it now. Who would you put in, and how would you like us to operate?
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, that is the key question, because we've had some team news for any of you that have seen the Motspur Park Life video that came out today. We are recording this on Wednesday, so you'll be seeing it as it comes out. The video has just been uploaded to YouTube a couple of hours ago from the Fulham account, and you'll see that great news. Harry Wilson and Anthony Robinson are back in full training. They're not just running on grass, they're actually kicking footballs, which is what it's all about. So that's great news. You would assume, I don't think you really need to talk about it. If Robinson's fit, we'd start him at left back. If Harry Wilson's fit, I'm sure we'd start him on the bench and hopefully start to reintegrate him, and eventually he'll be starting. The rest of the team you'd leave as unchanged, other than the enforced one that is Palhinha out. I'm caught in 2 minds about this one. I think there's 2 main options. The one I'm leaning towards is Reed dropping back into the 6 role, Andreas Pereira dropping back into the 8 role, and starting Tom Cairney, which, he's been appearing in every single game this season as a sub. I would like to see us go on the front foot and really take the game to Newcastle. The more defensive option would obviously be starting Chalobah and leaving everyone as is, just a straight swap, Palhinha out, Chalobah in. But I feel we should take the game to Newcastle, and, if it's not working, you can always change it up. But I think there's enough defensive solidity in let's face it, basically a pivot of either Cairney or Pereira and Harrison Reed, depending on who Marco Silva chooses to go more advanced. The thing about this Palhinha situation is, I don't think this is the last time he's going to be suspended this season. Something tells me that now. So it'll be interesting to see what we do in the January window. If we get another body in midfield, this is a good test for those players to prove we don't need one. It should be noted that Kenny Tete, this has gone slightly under the radar, is on 4 yellows. So we might be seeing him getting suspended as well soon. Hopefully not. But we have a straight swap there, Kevin and Babu. So I think for this, a very long-winded answer to your very short question, Jack, would be to go with Harrison Reed, Pereira and Kearney. What would you do? Do you agree? Would you go Natty Chabs? I've seen some rogue shouts for Issa Diop, CDM. What are your thoughts on that one? I mean, you're very good at progressing the ball out, but I don't know, Rev.
I'm not comfortable with playing a centre-back out of position, albeit further forward on the pitch. I mean, if he's a sweeper and he can just sort of hold that line and sort of stop attacks from coming in, you know, what a CDM does, stopping the transitions and stuff, then fair enough. But I would stick as a Diop at centre-back. And well, my initial thoughts, actually, before you mentioned what you mentioned, and actually made me think maybe that is the right way to go, was to drop Kearney in a deeper role, like we saw last season, alongside Harrison Reed, and then we'd play Carvalho in that centre attacking midfield role, and then that would be Andres Pereira, or no, it would be Pereira, because TC would then hold that position. But I'm warming to the idea of Pereira as an 8, with TC playing as the 10, because then he can spread the balls wide, make things happen. Mitrovic comes short to receive the ball, and we can link up like that. So yeah, I wouldn't be absolutely distraught if Natty Chap started, or even Josh Onomar, you never know. But yeah, I'm sort of open to the idea of either my idea in terms of TC dropping deep, or your idea of Andreas playing as the 8. I'd be happy with either one of those 2 options. Probably yours better, because Andreas is a good box-to-box midfielder. He has a lot of energy, he can get up and down the field. TC, that wonderful left foot, if he gets into a shooting position, have a pop. And Harrison Reed, of course, is just Harrison Reed, and he will do a job at CDM like he's always done for Fulham. So yeah, very exciting. In terms of Newcastle, they've got injury issues.
Big injury issues, and some of them have slightly improved negatively, in our opinion, for this game. The big story is that their big signing is out, Isaac. He is 100% out for the game. You have to sort of stay a little bit calm when you find out Callum Wilson's back. And let's face it, he normally does all right against us, albeit via cheating some of the time.
I knew that was coming. I knew it.
And I think if you want to see my reaction to that, then I reckon go back to December the 22nd or 3rd, 23rd, 2020. Peak of lockdown, peak of my head being scrambled, and Callum Wilson just basically ruining my life.
Ruined your Christmas.
Oh my God, he really did. He really did, Jack.
And then Shane Long almost did the same.
Oh, and then Shane Long nearly. Oh my goodness me. Oh my God, that was a rough few days in my house. I can tell you that now. But yes, Callum Wilson looks like he's back in. Other injury issues, looks like Chris Wood, who would probably just be their backup striker, is out. There's a couple of other niggly ones, like Shelby's not quite back. No, it's not that deep for us, to be honest. Bruno Gomares, might be butchering the surname, Bruno, is back, it looks like, and will be fit. So those are the 2 big stories for them, is that Isaac and Bruno are ready. So no, I'm butchering it. Wilson and Bruno are ready. Isaac is not. And then the one that I was almost hoping the most that they would be out might not come to fruition. Alain Saint-Maximin looks like he will at least be on the bench, which is slightly frustrating because I think he's a very dangerous player. And he's the sort of player that, let's say he does start on the bench. Let's say we're 1-0 up. They turn to him. He's a sort of player that makes you sort of get a bit nervous, even though a lot of the time he's not had the best end product over the years, I think it's fair to say. He's had some good form so far this season. I remember him just causing havoc against Man City, and his fantastic goal as well against Wolves away in the last minute. It was a fantastic volley out of nothing, and that's what players like that can do. It's a mixed bag of news from our point of view. I mean, they're missing their star striker. We're missing so far this season, one of our probably 3 or 4 star players in Polinia. Really interesting game. And Jack, I would love to get your score prediction.
Well, can we do something fun? Can we count down from 3 and say it at the same time? Because I think we've got the same score prediction.
Are we going 3, 2, 1, done?
Yeah.
Fine. Okay. I hope there's no lag. Let's do it.
3, 2, 1, 0-0.
1-1.
Oh. Maybe we should do that every week. That's good fun.
We should do that every week, yeah. It's going to be very depressing when we play Man City and you go 0-5 and I go 0-6. But I'm looking forward to this game. Looking forward to being back at the cottage. And yeah, we must also mention, Jack, and this is maybe a side point, one I haven't even thought of until I've just been sat here. The Riverside Stand Upper will be hosting fans for the first time ever. This is a historic day. It's only around 700, I believe, in I think blocks 11 and 12 furthest towards the Hammersmith end side of the ground. So right next to block H8. So just to the right of me. So I'm very excited for people to be there. Mm-hmm. Let's see. I know it's only a few, and let's face it, maybe it's not going to be super noisy there, but let's see if it starts to improve the atmosphere even more as more and more fans start to fill up that side of the ground, Jack.
Yeah, jealous of the people who are up there. The view is going to be impeccable of not only London, but the pitch and the view of, the shape and everything. That's going to be great to see. It feels like we're starting to get closer and closer to what we wanted when the stand was demolished back in, what was it, 2019, 20?
Something like that, yeah, 19.
Wherever it was. And yeah, we're nearly there. I suppose by the end of this season, we might have it full. You just never know. And also worth mentioning on Newcastle, Nick Pope the other night for England had a bit of a shocker, especially that Havertz goal. So maybe one we can get at.
And we, for context, me and Jack were both at that game separately, but both enjoying it. We won't go into what time Jack left the match. Very unfortunate. I'm sure many people were considering the same thing, including me. But at least you didn't see that Nick Pope howler. What I would say about Nick Pope, Jack, and I think that we can appreciate this more being there, I felt very nervy every time he was on the ball. And the reason for that wasn't necessarily his quality. We know that's not where his strengths lie. They normally lie in shot stopping. Obviously, he made a mistake for the goal on this occasion, but normally he's very good in that aspect and at controlling his box aerially. Germany were on him every time, and it was almost like they'd been sent out there with that message. And considering how well we've pressed, in particular at home this season, I can really see us trying to force him into mistakes. And it's not a nice thing to say, but his confidence is going to be rock bottom by now. And you sort of have to take advantage of that and get on him minute one.
The brutal realities of football. You support him one day for England, and then obviously you play against Fulham, and suddenly you want him to make every mistake under the sun. So that will be very interesting to see. Bruno Guimaraes is a fantastic player. He's someone I'm looking forward to watch. It's annoying because, Newcastle come to town and you're like, oh, we want to beat them. There's also a lot of players I'm looking forward to seeing. Isak was one of them. Now he's out. I suppose that is good news for us. But yeah, Alan Saint-Maximin, Bruno Guimaraes, Dan Burn returns.
Oh, Dan Burn returns. Oh my goodness, didn't even think of that.
I might put a fiver on Burn to score any time. It seems inevitable.
Bet.
But yeah, Newcastle at home, you say 1-1, I say 0-0. I'd be happy with a draw. No, would I be? Yeah, I think I'd be happy with a draw because our start to this season has been so above expectations that we can afford to drop points, albeit we don't want to. We want to keep this run going. And if we get 3 points, we're up to 14 points and we could be in the top 4 by Saturday night, depending on other results, which would be unfathomable.
Yeah. Have to say, Jack, I would much rather this sounds stupid. I would much rather your result happen than mine because I want to be all aboard the Golden Glove winning whites with Leno, but we are shipping some goals and that is a slight worry. I don't think it's anything to worry about too much right now, purely because of the opposition we played, the context of some of our games. We've been outscoring teams. It's not sustainable. And I would love it if this game, at the very least, we don't concede 2, because it feels like we're letting in 2 every game, and we're either scoring 3, like we did against Brentford, like we did against Forest, or we're losing 2-1, like we did against Arsenal, like we did against Tottenham. So fingers crossed. But either way, I would be satisfied with the point. I'd love us to go for the win, get in the top 4, as you say, would be fantastic. With Brighton having a tough game at Liverpool, maybe less tough at the moment, but still a tough game. And I think it's United going to City on Sunday, isn't it, in the Manchester derby, which meant we could leapfrog them with a win. And I think that's probably it, Jack, unless you've got anything else to say.
Well, we have to talk about Mitrovic.
Oh, my goodness. How could I forget?
I mean, we have to.
Yeah.
This is extraordinary. Harry Fremantle tweeted that wonderful meme, probably my favorite meme ever, of thank you for changing my life. I'm literally a Serbian football player. And he's completely correct. Honestly, can you think of another Fulham? I know obviously he didn't score for Fulham. He scored for Serbia. He scored a hat-trick, 4 goals in 2 games. It's remarkable. 50 goals for Serbia. Can you think of another Fulham player who's made you feel like this? Like you love this much?
No. And I know that there's some older fans that probably do have
of course,
players,
absolutely.
but for people in our generation, younger, even slightly older, I don't think there has been a cult hero like this. And I don't mean cult hero in Dennis Adoy fame when, they're an amazing player for the club. It's more about how good they actually are in addition to these other things. I mean, at the moment, I'm sorry, let's face it, he's a top 10 striker in the world. Like on current form, 100% with ease. You could even put him top 5. Like honestly, if you can name 5 people in better form currently, I don't know if you can do it.
Haaland, Benzema, perhaps.
Maybe Kane, even. Kane's still doing well.
Yeah.
He's scored slightly more goals than him in the Premier League. But I mean, that's probably it. I mean, his form is... I wouldn't put Jesus above him currently, because I think that if you put Mitrovic in that Arsenal team, he's got more than, 3 goals that Jesus has got. I mean, his all-round play has been fantastic. But it feels like every touch Mitrovic has leads to goals. And even aside from that, his all-round hold-up play has come on leaps and bounds, even from last season in the Championship. And this is against better opposition. He looks fitter, he looks faster, he looks more determined. And the player has always been there. The player has always been there. But what Marco Silva and also, it must be said, the Serbian national team are bringing out of him, it's a different animal. And it's the best striker I've seen at Fulham in my lifetime currently. I just think he's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely unbelievable. There's a few things to say here. First of all, we're playing Newcastle at the weekend. Obviously, he used to play for Newcastle. It'd be great for him to put in a great performance, because I seem to remember he was getting some stick from those fans when we played them. We lost 4-0. I think it might have been that game. Also, he's just a phenomenal striker. You're right. I mean, if you think about form players right now, you are right in saying that he's one of the best in Europe. There is now a conversation, and it has to be, we have to talk about it.
I know what you're going to say.
By the way, before I say it, shame on you, Odds Bible. Shame on you, footy hackers, who are now,
oh, we love Mitrovic. We love Mitrovic.
Exactly. Jumping on the bandwagon. That's a more polite way of saying it.
2 months ago, your intern hated him when he was calling him a Championship merchant. And come on, he
low
was never
blows
a Championship
for easy
merchant.
numbers. Low blows for easy numbers. On where they go, oh, he's going to get only 3 goals. Shut up. He's got 6 in 7. He should have had 7 in 7. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He's got 50 goals for his country. 4 in the last 2. I mean. And he's got a World Cup. And, there's no better way of demonstrating how well you can play. Karim Benzema does it all the time in Champions League, yeah? Harry Kane, Premier League. Premier League for Mitrovic and World Cup for Mitrovic. People will take notice. They've already started taking notice. And Joe, sadly, and we'll obviously come on to Luke Harris very, very briefly as well, is there now a conversation where we're like, is there going to be a club that comes in for him either January or the summer? Because he is tied down to a nice little contract as well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there's a conversation, because with form like that, there has to be. But he signed a huge contract last season. He's very happy here. He's playing the best football of his career. I don't think that he would necessarily want to leave. And if you watch the Fulham fix, he talks about Fulham as like his club. and how he wants to repay the fans for maybe sticking with him through some of the bad times. I feel that we always did that as a fan base overall. Even when people were doubting him, that never came from within the fan base, really. Some, yeah. And maybe even at times me and you were thinking, is he fast enough? It was the systems. We should have always been playing to his strengths, and we are doing that. And look at the results. There has to be a conversation, because you're right. You can't be in this form at a club. I mean, I know we're massive, but like at the level that we are, and not have bigger hitters coming in. It just can't happen. But if you look at the top teams, I do feel that it's unlikely he goes. And my reasoning for that is he doesn't suit a Liverpool or an Arsenal or a Man City in terms of the playing style. I think he more suits a Tottenham, but he's not going to start ahead of Harry Kane. You could think of Chelsea. We're not going to sell to Chelsea, and we can come on to the Luke Harris thing in a minute, where that might be slightly different, but we're not going to sell Mitrovic to Chelsea. That's just not going to happen. And other than those, I don't think there's anyone that can either, in England, that can either pay what we want for him or actually convince him to take him on. Yeah.
And you'll get like fan bases like Villa and Leeds going, oh, we could sign him. No, you can't. Well, I say that now, but there is going to be. Can't. Well, can I ask you about a price tag then? Right now in this form, what would you put a price on his head?
Now, I wanna bear in mind what we always sort of caveat when we have these conversations, Jack. And like, I don't know now what a player is actually worth, but you can know what he's worth to a club. And the fact is that if we lost Mitrovic, that would be horrendous for us. I am not even picking up the phone for anything less than 70 million currently. No chance. And I reckon we could get a lot more than that. And my reasoning for that is not necessarily saying, Mitrovic, if you just look at his pure worth as a football player, is worth this or that. But his worth to Fulham is worth at least 70 million, in my opinion, minimum.
And the problem is, like, you could talk about the big price tags and stuff. You look at Jack Grealish, who went for 100 million, and he's not a regular starter, is he? He starts some games, he plays some games, he gets a lot of minutes. But even 100 million pounds for Manchester City doesn't guarantee you minutes. Calvin Phillips, albeit he's been a little bit injured this season, hasn't had much of a look in since he's joined. That was for 50 million, I believe. So, look, he's ours, and let's hopefully tie him down to another, 1 year extension and maybe boost that salary a little bit to because he deserves it and he's been fantastic. Yep. But look, we're only a few games into the season, a lot can happen, but we back Mitrovic all the way. We think he's great. Finally, Luke Harris, subject of a move to Chelsea for how much? 30 million?
30 million.
It's utterly insane.
Well, first of all, I think that we must say that this cannot be true. And the reason that it can't be true right this second is because there were a lot of mistakes in the article. And I think that if there's mistakes in the article and you don't even know the contract length he's got, I don't think you know how much he's being lined up for a bid for, is my personal opinion. But if this was legitimate, and maybe it is something in the works for the future, 30 million is a lot of money. I don't want to sell him, but I do think that if this bid came in of 30 million right this second, I think the club would consider it. I don't want him going. I especially don't want him going to Chelsea. I'm hoping that he'll play a lot of first-team football from this season onwards. The news of him signing the contract was fantastic because I was worried about that. I thought that he might just get snapped up by a Chelsea for free or for pennies, pretty much.
Tribunal.
Tribunal. But I would hope that we wouldn't. But I think that if that sum of money was true at this current stage, I could see it happening. I have to be honest. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, it was for a 17-year-old who hasn't made a senior appearance for Fulham, apart from the cup against Crawley. I would definitely accept, which is bad to say because it goes against everything we want from our academy, which is to actually bring through youngsters and keep them at the club. But that's silly money for a 17-year-old. And Todd Bowley's coming to the club is throwing money around and making rash decisions like there's no tomorrow. Albeit Graham Potter's a great manager, and I'm not looking forward to seeing what he does at Chelsea, but I'm intrigued to see what he does at Chelsea because I really did like him at Brighton, and he's a nice guy. Comes to us very, very well. But it seems erratic. It doesn't really seem to be true. Like you said, I saw one article which had his name wrong. It said Harris, but it was like Jake or Jack or something.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
It's lazy,
lazy stuff. But that's one I think, it surfaced last week. It's been quiet ever since. I don't think there's much in it anymore. And yeah, obviously did he get any minutes for Wales in the last couple of games? I don't think he did. But it's a good experience for him, like we said when he first got called up. And Joe, well, welcome back, and thanks so much for being here today. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be back. Thanks everyone for watching, and thanks for your support of the channel overall. And we'll be careful what I say here, Jack. But hopefully, we have some special news at some point soon.
Yes, very, very special news. I won't say anything more, but there is a smile on my face. There is a smile on both our faces. All will be revealed very soon, I'm sure. We'll be back next Wednesday with another Jack and Joe show, reviewing Newcastle and looking ahead to West Ham United.
Yeah.
Are you attending West Ham away?
I cannot make that game, sadly. I cannot make the Sunday. So that will be the second game I've missed this season, along with Forest, which, if that is any evidence to go by, everyone there enjoy the 3-2 thrilling win and fabulous away end scenes.
Yes. Forest is brilliant, obviously. It feels like a long time ago now. And obviously we are back at Craven Cottage on Saturday. And I'm guessing Newcastle, what kit will they wear? Oh, it doesn't matter. They'll wear some sort of kit that works with our shirt as well. Thanks so much for watching. And Joe, thanks for being here.
Thanks a lot, Jack. Thanks everyone for watching.
Everyone, please enjoy your evening. Like, subscribe, and come on, Fulham.